Hi, good morning. I'm Victoria Taylor. I'm the director of the Iraq Initiative at the Atlantic Council. I'm so happy to have you here today. I want to particularly thank those who traveled from Iraq and the region to be here. This is the first edition of what we hope will be the premier forum in Washington, D.C. for examining Iraq's role in the Middle East and the strategic choices shaping its future. This year's theme, Iraq in a New Middle East, reflects the profound shifts taking place throughout the region and the questions about Iraq's role in a changed region. As the US and Israel launched the war with Iran, Iraq became a theater for the conflict, the only country struck by both the United States and Iran, and also by forces from within the country. The Iran-backed militias attacked sites throughout Iraq, including hundreds of strikes in the Kurdistan region against the US Embassy and consulate, and against Iraq's neighbors. And this really exposed a key vulnerability for Iraqi sovereignty and a major point of tension between the United States and Iraq. Selfishly, I note that the closure of Iraqi airspace and US consular sections also increased the difficulty for me in planning this conference. This discussion also takes place during a moment of change within Iraq, as the newly designated Prime Minister, Ali al-Zaidi, works to form the next government. Unfortunately, the timing of the government formation process meant that some of our speakers were unable to travel to join us here in person, but this just underscores the timeliness of today's discussions. Iraq's next Prime Minister faces a number of serious challenges, including a fragile economy, rogue militias, and the growing impossibility of navigating a foreign policy that balances between the United States and Iran. We have an amazing lineup of speakers today that will help us dive into these issues. I've gotten questions online about some of our speakers and why we invited them. We've called this the Iraq Dialogue for a reason, because we want to facilitate honest and open discussion with people from a range of views and backgrounds, and we've tried our best to reach out across the political spectrum and to bring in voices from across Iraq, and that's something that I'm committed to keep working on. I want to offer our immense gratitude to Crescent Petroleum, Onyx Holding, and DT Institute for their generous support to the Iraq Initiative, which helps make our work possible. Thanks also to the South Kurdistan Group for sponsoring our reception this evening, which will take place immediately following our last panel. Now I'd like to introduce our Executive Vice President here at the Atlantic Council, Jenna Ben-Yehuda.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Council. It's really my pleasure to welcome all of you here in person and online to the inaugural Iraq Dialogue. We're really honored to have such a distinguished group of speakers and guests, including those who've traveled really far and wide to be here with us in person today. So, against the backdrop of the U.S. war with Iran, Iraq might not always be in the headlines, but it remains a pivotal player in the Middle East and to U.S. national security interests. As the Atlantic Council works to deepen Washington's understanding of the Middle East and shape U.S. policy toward the region, today's discussions on Iraq are a core part of those efforts. Today's panels will explore Iraqi political dynamics, the economy and energy sector, Iraq's relations with its neighbors, and will also feature speakers who can shed light on Iraqi society. We've been proud to host the Iraq Initiative at the Atlantic Council since it began its work in 2017, hosting events and discussions that bring the Washington policy community together with Iraqi politicians, international business leaders, and Iraq experts together. Victoria has told me how special the Iraq community is and those who remain deeply committed to the study of Iraq and to advancing a better future for the country. And today's event looks as though it will be a record crowd, demonstrating both that unique devotion to Iraq and a credit to Victoria's leadership. So thank you. I'd like to again thank our generous donors, Crescent Petroleum, Onyx Holding, and DT Institute for their critical support to the initiative. Now, without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to our first panel on the future of the U.S.-Iraq relationship and to our moderator, Vivian Salama. Many of you know Vivian as a staff writer at The Atlantic. She has also had a long tenure at the Wall Street Journal as a foreign correspondent, of course, and also served as Baghdad bureau chief for the Associated Press. Please join me in welcoming Vivian and our first panel to the stage.